All right, guys, it is 2019 and we are still on this Bone Thugs and Harmony Freestyle Fellowship argument. And I just was in it with some folks on Facebook, and it was all for fun, guys. But this type of stuff really gets me going, and I want to bring up some stuff. Now, I will say, I wish I could do this video and edit in a whole bunch of stuff that I'm talking about, but I'm not like some sophisticated YouTuber. I don't have any software to do some fancy editing. But if you guys really care about this topic, listen to what I'm dropping and go do some Googling. It's real easy. Check out some music on YouTube. But let's get to the bottom of this. Bone Thugs and Harmony Freestyle Fellowship. I see so many people talking so much crap about Bone Thugs and how they jack Freestyle Fellowship style. The hate seems to obviously lean towards Bone. I don't know why. Maybe because overall, nationally, and of course worldwide, Bone Thugs have had a lot more success. I mean, one of the best-selling rap groups ever. And with the debate with Migos and, you know, people jacking styles and all these new rappers, hey, it's a popular thing right now. The people are still talking about this. But I'm gonna start breaking this down like this. First off, I am gonna say I do not think Bone jacked Freestyle Fellowship style, but I'm also gonna say I don't think anybody really jacked anybody's style. But I'm gonna put this argument out there. But first, we need to take a little trip through history. Now, before we say, this goes even beyond Bone Thugs and Harmony and Freestyle Fellowship, because this type of stuff was happening before them, and it didn't even originate with rap and with hip hop. It originated with dancehall. So if we go back to Freestyle Fellowship's first album in 1991 and what was popping off back then, you know, with the hump, the hit, the hump, the hump, hump. That's what they rap like. There were so many other rap groups, Das Effects, Fushnikins, that were rapping like this. This, it came from, dancehall music in the 80s. Now, what came with this was harmonics and harmonizing and whatnot. And that came from dancehall music would obviously harmonize, but it came from your standard reggae singing, and they were rapping. And because of the way that their tongue naturally is and the way that they speak, you know, and a lot of these rap genres and rap and hip hop sounds came from culture and how the cultures spoke and rolled their tongues. So you had artists like Supercat, Lady G, even Barrington Levy. Hey, yeah, how about that? Hey, I can't even think in my head what he does, but he would do that. He had such a unique voice. And he would like do that on the intros of his songs. You know, and then you had General Levy, who is like, and they were doing this stuff back in the 80s, guys, back in the 80s. And then rappers took this style with the you know, like KRS-One. Go bang. That was in what, 86? Criminal Minded. You know, so many cats picked that up. Spice One, Big of the Blue. You know, he was doing that. Spigot of Spice Blue. He was doing that in the early 90s. And a lot of that came from because they talked like they would do a little reggae accent and incorporate that in, and they would harmonize. Bone Thugs on their first album, and many people not know about this album, the Face of the Death album. You know, past da left hand side, but a blow. I mean, like the same. Excuse me, guys. You know, I'm not trying to put a real hardcore emphasis on it. I'm just painting the picture for you guys. That came out in 91. And that's when they recorded that. So if we want to give anybody credit for the bounce and the tongue twisting that ended up becoming a part of hip hop, you got to go to the dance halls in the 80s. And you got to look at these artists in the 80s that were doing this stuff already. And then it was brought into hip hop. Now, let's get back into more specifically Bone Thugs and Harmony and Freestyle Fellowship. I'm going to break it down as a timeline, okay? I think many people that try to argue that Bone Thugs bit Freestyle Fellowship is because they don't really listen to Bone Thugs, and they think that Thuggish Ruggish Bone was their first song, and they think that Creepin' on a Come Up, which was that had Thuggish Ruggish Bone, that came out in 94, they think that that's their first album, but it wasn't. Faces of Death was their first album. Faces of Death was recorded in 1991 and was originally released on cassette in 91 and then re-released in 93. So, Freestyle Fellowship, according to my research into what I know from being fans of all these people, they were not really active before 1991. And their first album, To Whom It May Concern, came out in 91, at the end of 91, in like October of 91. That whole album is not Bone style, but they did the but it was up tempo. It was up tempo. I call it ruckus rap. That's what I call it. What was popping back then? You know, like I said, you had. But here's the thing: Fushnikins came out in 91 with Ring the Alarm. 91. That was before even Freestyle Fellowship. So we can sit here and say Freestyle Fellowship boot off of Foo or bit off of Foo. And then Das Effects came out, put their first release out shortly in 92. And, you know, that was the same style. Even Crisscross in 92, the Make it Mac Daddy. That's the same. It was the same thing that was popping. So this goes way beyond Freestyle Fellowship of Bone Thugs and Harmony. So getting back to it, Freestyle Fellowship 91. Now, if you listen to Bone Thugs and Harmony's Faces of Death album, all of the album wasn't fast, like, you know, Bone to be. Most of their stuff's fast. Even some of their later albums, all of it wasn't tongue twisting. But half of it was. And some of it was that more up-tempo, because that was the vibe back then. It was the vibe. It wasn't just Freestyle Fellowship. But the thing with Bone is that their bounce and their fast lyrics were to down-tempo beats. Freestyle Fellowship and Fushnikins and all, everyone else, it was very up-tempo. So again, on Faces of Death, some of it was up-tempo, but if you listen to Def Dick, if you listen to the Wee song, and then there was shoot, I can't think of them off the top of my head, but they're all down tempo, and you could tell, especially Crazy Bone, Lazy did it. Lazy had the #1 Assassin song where he was and the thing with Crazy is he didn't do the he did the very different. So they had that down tempo done, recorded on music in 90 and 91. That predates even the recording of Freestyle Fellowship's first album. Okay. Now, keep in mind, too, Freestyle Fellowship is in L.A. Bone Thugs is in Cleveland. More than halfway across the country. Now, here's the thing. People say Bone Thugs came to Good Life in L.A. and heard Freestyle Fellowship and bit their shit. Bone Thugs and Harmony didn't come out to L.A. until the end of 93. Bone Thugs and Harmony did not meet Easy until the end of 93. Bone Thugs and Harmony did not sign to Ruthless Records until the end of 93. At that point in time, Bone Thugs and Harmony had already started recording Creepin' on a Come Up, which had the song Thuggish Ruggish Bone. Now, in 1993, Freestyle Fellowship released their second album. And that album was really similar to their first album for the most part because it had the up-tempo, except one or two songs were down-tempo. And the one song, Mary, is a song that if you listen to it, sounds really almost identical, at least the first half of it, because AC Alone starts out and he's rapping fast to a down-tempo beat. And then Makai 9 comes in and he's harmonizing and he sounds just like Crazy Bone. It's trippy because it really does like almost sound just like him. And it is that kind of style, that Bone style. So right here, we have a bit of a difference from FF's Freestyle's stuff that they've been doing the first couple of albums. And it does sound like Bone. Okay? But here's the thing. Here's the difference. When you listen to Freestyle Fellowship's original style that they ran with out the gate, it was different than the style of Mary that sounded like Bone Thugs. If you listen, though, to Bone Thugs style right out the gate, although it evolved, it was always the same. You had that style that Mary was, that Bone Thug style, that thuggish, ruggish Bone style, that East 99 style, in Faces of Death way back to 1990. It never changed. It evolved, but it was there. They always had that skull and crossbone, weed smoking, murder, death type shit. It was the Ouija board shit. It was always there. In the fast style and the harmonizing was always there. And the thing with Freestyle Fellowship, their harmonizing was more like Arrested Development, like country jazz type of, fun, heart singing over these kind of country twangs. It wasn't like that melodic, Ouija, are you with me? Murder me now. The only song that sounded like that they did, that Freestyle Fellowship did, was Mary. That was the only song that sounded like that. So, here's the thing. If you listen to Faces of Death, if you listen to We Be Fiendin' on Faces of Death, now this song was recorded either in 1990 or 1991. It's down-tempo. It has the harmonizing. They're talking about weed, and they're through the song. So what predates what? That predates Mary. Now, Mary was released in 93. When was it recorded? I don't know. But it sounds, you can tell by studio sound, studio quality, you can tell off the vibe that it doesn't sound like it was pre-91. It sounds like it was recorded at least 92 on. Anybody that's listened to rap since the 80s or the early 90s, you could tell. You can tell the time period. Because at the end of the day, everyone gets influenced by everything that's around them. And Busy even said this in an interview, this is what I've been saying too. And he's saying that Freestyle Fellowships were like the Mayans building the Mayan pyramids, and Bone Thugs were like the Egyptians building the Egyptian pyramids. What he meant by that is, how do you have civilizations that don't even know about each other building these pyramids, doing like-minded greatness and innovating, and they didn't even know about each other? And I think it comes down to the fact that I think both of these groups got inspired by the influx of the dancehall vibe, the harmonizing and the bounce that came from the dancehall vibe that created the kind of fast tempo ruckus hip hop of the early 90s. And then I think they both kind of took it and did their own thing. And then at some point in time, when they did come out and meet Freestyle Fellowship in like 93, I'm sure they probably took from each other at that point, because they realized, oh, what these dudes are doing is dope. And Bone probably said that about Freestyle. Freestyle probably said that about Bone. Who knows? But if you listen to all of Freestyle stuff, it really doesn't. It is so different than Bone Thugs if you have to sit there and really dissect it. Now with the Mary song, it's hard to say maybe Freestyle Fellowship heard Bone and recorded Mary. We don't know. Nobody was there. We weren't there. We don't know what came first. But there's so much more to this, man. There's so much more than what people are panning out to be. And like I said, I think the main reason that people are dissing Bone is because they think that freaking Bone Thugs and Harmony started doing their thing in 1994 with Thuggish Ruggish Bone. And it's just not true. Bone Thugs was doing it. Freestyle Fellowship was doing it. And we don't know. It's like the chicken or the egg. We don't know what came first. So my thing is this. Anybody that's out there like trying to point, I'm not trying to point fingers at Freestyle Fellowship saying they bit off a Bone. I don't know that. I don't think that. But I don't think Bone bit off Freestyle Fellowship either. I think they did their own thing. And I am a fan of both groups. And I think what both groups did is extremely vital to history and to hip hop as a culture and as a music and as an art form. And I think anybody that's trying to point fingers, really, it's like, it's not worth it, because it takes away what both groups did for this culture. Maybe people are salty because Bone Thugs got so much success. That's not Bone's fault. I mean, it is. It's their fault because of the effort that they put in. Freestyle Fellowship took a hiatus because dude went to prison or some shit. They didn't release their third album until like 2001. Whose fault is that? So, you know, it's not like somebody stole somebody else's shine. And like I said, at the end of the day, I can't say. Like, I try to be innovative in my own way in my music, and I always have been myself, but I'm inspired. I grew up listening to Bone. This man behind me saved my life. Pac saved my life. So you hear certain parts of that in my music. You know, I listen to all types of music. Like, I'm from the Bay Area, you know, born in Oakland and raised in the Bay, but some of my shit has a lot of East Coast influence because I grew up listening to, freaking Boot Camp and Smith & Wesson and, you know, obviously Wu-Tang and shit like that. But Lords of the Underground. But I listen to a lot of West Coast stuff too. You know, Mac Mall, Spice One, and Quinn and all that. Delinquents. I mean, I listen to stuff from all over. Bone Thugs, Pac. We take from people that we are inspired by, you know. So let's just kill this argument right now and say, look, these two groups did amazing things, and at some point in time their paths might have crossed, and they may have inspired each other. But to say one person specifically stole somebody's style, there's no evidence there. And if I had to make an argument, there is more evidence there to say that Bone was doing their thing and had more recorded pre-Mary, even pre To Whom It May Concern. So Bone, technically, by what I have as facts, Bone was doing it first. But that's not what this is about. Much love to both groups. I just wanted to put that out there, guys. Like I said, I wish I could put some links in here, but check out those songs. Listen to the albums back to back. Listen to Faces of Death. Listen to Whom It May Concern. Listen to Mary. Listen to some of those early dancehall artists, man. Listen to them. Listen to early 90s General Levy. The proof is in the pudding there. So let's just give love. Let's end this freaking argument. Let's give respect where respect's due and call it a day, because it's all about the love that we have for hip hop and the music and its culture. So